Mortal Online 2 is a hardcore sandbox full loot MMO where you can be anything and play however you want, but with so much variety it can be very easy to mess up your character and end up playing a character that doesn't perform so well at endgame. So today I'm going to go over the best melee foot fighting build and the best mage build. These builds are incredible solo, they have some of the best ability in PvE and PvP solo, and they are incredible together. So if you're coming in here as a new player and you're on your own and you want to be either a foot fighter or a mage, these are really good options as they're amazing solo and in small scale. And then if you've got a friend, picking one of these each makes you an absolutely crazy duo. This is one of the best duo builds to play together. I will say, even though I've played this game for thousands of hours, these are just my opinions based on what I've played and the people I play with and what seems to be doing well. I'll show you how to make the character at Character Creator, I'll show you what it looks like towards like when it's fully built out, and then I'll show some footage of it in game so you can see how it plays. And if there's anything specific you want to see, let me know down below. If you want to see like some dungeon specific builds or some off meta builds or some more magic builds, let me know. But let's get straight into this, starting with the #1 foot fighting build in the game right now. And it's a Kallard Thursar foot fighter. This is the #1 thing you're seeing in the game right now. Loads of people are making them, loads of people are playing them, and some of the best PvPers are on this build. On top of that, it's also one of the best for PvE. So if you're new to the game and you just want to play the game, this is one of the best. You can go anywhere pretty much with this build. Here I am taking on one of the new dungeons, big mini boss kind of things. Pretty easy. You have one of the highest healths, you can wear some of the best armor, you have these huge two-handed weapons like a two-handed axe or a two-handed sword or a spear. You deal massive amounts of damage, you have passive regenerating health, you have an ability called lifesteal, and when you flick that on, every time you deal damage, you regenerate health, giving you just this massive ability to sustain yourself in long fights. Thursars are also the destroyers of pets. No matter what pet you're coming up against, being on a Thursar is your best defense. They can just destroy pets. You can see here, we're just destroying an armored Mulver while the guy's trying to out-heal it. I can't say enough good things about Thursar right now. Things change, but right now, this build just feels really, really strong. And if you're new and you're looking for something easy that can get you into pretty much everything in the game, this is the one I would recommend if you're looking to foot fight or have the melee option. So if you're looking to build this, there is a Thursar fighter preset, and this is the Kallard Thursar. If you want to just use that, that's a very simple way to get started. I don't use the preset, I like to make mine myself. So here's how they go. You go Thursar, and then you go Kallard as the subrace, and then you can see here, this is what it looks like. It says Ryzar on the left and Kallard on the right. At the next screen, you want to go age 30, and then you want to set the height to maximum until you can't go any further. And then you want to put the strength all the way to the max for the best start in Haven. So age 30, size all the way, I think it's 108 maximum, and then dump the rest into strength. And then for weight, you want to go stout. So kind of push it here to where stout is like at the upper end. So 129% of the character creator. Okay, and here's how it looks at the end. You'll have max strength, max dex, max con. You'll have 34.6% damage bonus, over 200 health, 214 health, and decent combat speed. You can catch everything in the game but a Veela and a Sheevra, or a really underweight class like some weird off-meta class that's underweight. Yeah, and you can wear steel armor. This is the end game. What you can do here is you can take your height past the cap by taking height increase potions. Go on the broker and look for potions that have plus height on them. Sip them, and you can go all the way to 225, and that gives us a little bit extra damage bonus. But this is the end game build. Okay, in the clade gifts, you want to take at the top pretty much everything that's blue. You want to go all the way down to the bottom in all of these blue ones because they all give either strength or damage bonus. You want to take all those. Here you want to take either axes or swords to get more action points if you're using an axe or a sword. If you want to use something like a spear, don't take that. Stick and Throat gives us our passive regeneration. It makes us heal passively through the fights a lot more. It's absolutely broken in long fights. If you're parrying and fighting for a long period of time, your health is just constantly regenerating, giving you a 1-up on anyone that you're fighting. Down here, you want to take Lifesteal. This is the king of PvE. You just take a hit and hit back, and you gain health back. You can trade with pretty much every PvE thing in the game with this. And then Adamant is your big defensive. You get a 10% defense to either melee or magic, and you can toggle it. So depending if you're fighting a mage or a footy, you can toggle that to get 10% defense. The rest of the points is up to you. Okay, and here's your action points. And here's what I would say is like mandatory, and then what is more of a choice. So I would say aggressive stance, defensive stance, aggressive stance, armor training, blocking, combat maneuvering, defensive stance, the armor training, sprinting, and a weapon of your choice, for me I go swords, is mandatory. That's like 600 mandatory points. Then you have a choice. Taming, I take because you need to tame your own horses unless you're in a guild, or you're going to buy all your own horses. If you're out in the wild and you lose your horse, which is going to happen a lot, you can tame a new one. I think it's really important to have. Up to you though. 30 points lets you tame any horse in the game pretty much. 20 Ecumenical lets you cast Purify. So if a mage casts Corrupt or Fulminate on you, you can just purify it. You have enough mana to cast like 2 or 3 Purifies. So you can get rid of the chance to take 50 damage in 2 seconds. So really, really good. As a Thursar, we take a lot of magic damage. So I really like that. Easily the best 20 points you can take. Endurance is very, very important on a Thursar compared to other footies because we get Stiganthrope. So Stiganthrope gives us, I think it doubles our passive regeneration. The effects of passive regeneration is doubled. Yeah, so that's where we heal over time. And you'll see passive regeneration sits under endurance. If you want to have 100 passive regeneration, you need to have 100 endurance. And that is where you literally stand there in a fight and just watch your health bar go up. If you finish a fight and you've got like 50 health missing, just go ride your horse. And by the time you get to where you're going, your health will be full again because it just goes up passively. And there what I'd say would be mandatory. You could take anatomy for bandaging because you can't heal. If you're end game and you're just sipping potions all day, you could maybe flick off anatomy and take potion utilization instead, because you're running these expensive potions which can fill your health bar, and potion utilization is more useful in a fight, whereas anatomy is more useful outside of a fight. You don't really have the chance to break away and bandage unless you're in a big team fight. And then you got about 200 points left over, and it's pretty much up to you what you do here. For me, this is what I like: controlled riding to 100. And then we take mounted combat to 100 and mounted charge, the secondary to 100 and swift riding to 100. This gives us faster horse riding. It lets us use mounted weapons. So whatever you have as a weapon, so sword, axe, whatever you're using, you can then use that from horseback, which is really good for just clipping horses. Lots of people run unarmored horses, so it's good. If you're using an axe, you can fully dismount people like that. You can also use lancers with this build, just like this. You don't need the lance skill to use a lance and dismount somebody. If you're trying to dismount people in steel, it helps. But with our strength and with our mounted charge at 100, we can dismount most people with a lance without needing the lance skill. That's how I run it. You can take archery. You can try and squeeze in mounted archery as well. There's also a new thing that's been added to the game a few weeks ago, and that is the mastery system. This is brand new, so not many people are maxed. I don't know if anyone's maxed, and we haven't fully tested every single build with this, so it's a veteran leveling system that's supposed to take a very long time. But here's a good suggestion if you're building out a Thursar Footfighter. You would start and you would take +4 raw strength down here and plus raw con for extra health. You'd go into the damage side and you would take all of the melee damage bonus. You would take slashing damage and blunt damage if you're using a sword or an axe. If you're using a spear, you could take piercing damage. On the constitution tree, you put a lot of points here. We've got like health, loads of points in health, loads of points in passive regeneration. You've got pierce resistance, slashing resistance, and blunt resistance. You're foot fighting, so you want all three. There's a bunch of stuff here for magic resistance, and then all this tree here is extra potion utilization and more thirst, so you can drink more potions at once. That's how I would build out a Thursar Footfighter, and it's how I'm at like 60 on my Thursar, and this is what it looks like. It's pretty good. You can also dump a ton of points here into the action points, and you get like an extra 50 action points. So if you're trying to squeeze in mounted archery, or you're trying to squeeze in, anatomy and potion utilization, things like that, or an extra weapon, then 50 points goes a long way. Yeah, that's the Thursar. That's the Thursar Footfighter. If you got any questions on this one, let me know down below. It is one of the most dominant builds right now. It is extremely fun, extremely powerful. But yeah, let me know if you want to know anything else on this, but let's move on. Okay, now let's talk about the best mage build in Mortal Online 2. And I'd say you've got two options. You've got a human mage or you've got a Sheevra mage. And I am going to say the Sheevra mage is the best if you're coming into this as a new player. And that is going to be a surprise because a lot of people say that human is the best. And human on paper has the best stats. It has the highest intelligence, the most damage, the best mana regen, the best armor. And if you're playing in a big team fight, if you're in a big guild and you're doing dungeons all day, a fat human mage is incredible. But in every other situation, I think a Sheevra is better. In this case, we're going to show a bulging Sheevra, which has extremely high intelligence, huge damage, and can get away from everything in the game, I believe, except from a Veela. And the reason that's so important is because you can not only survive by getting out of range, but you can dictate the battle. You can corrupt someone, a foot fighter, and they can't get to you. You can get to a position where you can throw down elemental spells. You can get to a position where you can raise walkers and go in and put them on someone and get back out. There's a reason some of the best mages in the game play a Sheevra, and I would definitely recommend checking out people like Amalgam on YouTube for some clips of like high-end, high-skill Sheevra gameplay. So let's get into the build. So the build is a bulging Sheevra. Sheevra are the small Alvarin class, and then we go bulging because you get higher intelligence to high your weight class, and that is more damage. So we do that, we get high damage from being bulging, and we still get the really high speed from being a Sheevra. So it's an Alvarin Sheevra, so on this screen it'll say Sheevra, Sheevra, and then in the stats we go age 50, and you can see as you put the age up, the intelligence goes up, and that is our damage. So that's what we want. We want 50 as the age, and then you want to be minimum size. Size does get you a little bit more health, but it gives you a bigger hitbox, and we don't really need it. So I would go minimum size, 50 age, and then just dump all the rest of your points into intelligence. This will give you increased damage in Haven, and into higher intelligence will let you read books faster, which is really important on a mage because you'll be learning a lot of books in Haven. And then on the next screen, you just put the slider all the way to the right. You go bulging, as big as you can get, just all the way to the right, 180%, and that's it. That's the bulging Sheevra build. Okay, and then this is what it'll look like at endgame. This is what you're working towards. So you want age 50, minimum height, bulging weight, might, no strength, maximum dexterity, maximum intelligence. We have 119 intelligence, meaning we deal crazy amounts of damage. I think it's like 15 intelligence less than a fat human mage. So you have nearly the huge amounts of damage and healing, but you can get around. You can get out of fights, you can get into things, you can position. So it's massive. And then you have a balancing constitution and psyche. So you're balancing between health and mana, really. This one has 180 health like this. So if you want this, go for this. If you want to have more health, put your con up. If you want to have more psyche, and then you'll have more mana. That's it. That's the build. It outruns everything but a Veela, I believe, or some weird off-meta builds. But yeah, that's it. On the gifts, there's not really much to say. Veelas really aren't that exciting. Down here is all movement speed. Take everything here. There's swimmer as well if you want to take Naiad, that's for swimming. But take everything else. These are your buffs to give you movement speed. These will give you increased movement speed. Some let you jump higher. They're just all movement speed and positioning. Take all of those. You want to take Alva Insight. That's like your ability to see through walls. If someone's in a house or a stronghold, you pop that, you see where they are, you start throwing elementalism at them. They're done. Like, it's just really good if you're in a dungeon, you can see things below you, ahead of you. Amazing. A little bit of extra psyche there, a little bit of intelligence there. Thaumaturgy is really good because it gives you a 50% chance not to consume regents, which means that, you know, you only have to take pretty much half the stuff out with you because it will last a lot longer and you'll save gold by not taking as much with you. And then you have Mind Shield to reduce magic damage. That's pretty much it. There's nothing crazy here, but they work really well on the build. Okay, now let's talk about the skills. Armor training, heavy armor training, 150 or like 75. That's a good balance. You're not using that to wear big heavy armor though. You're going to wear like basic armor, like plate scales kind of thing is probably your max. And then you're going to be flicking a tower shield on. As you get into a fight and you corrupt someone or you death hand someone and then you want to back out, you flick a tower shield on your back. So when they swing for you, if they hit the shield and that takes most of the damage off. That's going to be the difference between surviving or not in a fight. So I think that's a good balance there. Combat maneuvering of 100 to do that. Defensive stance at 100 so that when you do take a hit, it's not as hard. Ecumenical at 100. This is so that you can cast Earthquake. Earthquake is your only mounted spell. So when you're on a horse and you're going to dismount someone, you cast Earthquake. It's 100 to cast it, and it doesn't require any mounted ability, which means we don't need to take any mounted stuff here, and we can still bring full, mounted characters to the ground. Elemental spells and elemental intensification to 90 means you can cast all of the big elemental spells, so you can farm PvE really well with Stag Charge. You can throw fireballs at big groups of enemies, at houses. You can do most of the elemental spells with 90. Mental offense at 100, mental training at 100, and vitalism at 100 are standard mage things that you need. Necromantic rituals and necromancy spells at 100 is really good. It means you can do walkers, you can raise ritual pets like undead pets, you can death hand people, which is a spell you see where you pour blood in the hand and then you go behind them and you just rip their health out and heal yourself. Absolutely huge. And then sprinting at 100. You can change this around. You could take spiritism for mental projectile. You could take 100 points in daggers to have a bit of a melee option in case you need it. There's a few things you can change around here, but this is pretty good. Not everyone likes ritual pets. This is the ability to raise pets, and not everyone likes pets. So you can drop that and definitely take some other things if you want. You can also take polarization for weather control. I don't think that's very good, but you can take that if you want. And then again, we have the mastery system. Here's a rough guide if you're new and you don't know where to start. Here's a rough guide. Down here, you want to take pretty much all of the stat points. Raw Psych and Raw Int for mana and damage. Raw Dexterity for speed to keep ahead of everyone. Raw Constitution for a little extra health. Up here, you want to take the extra health. That's a ton of health. It's so important on a mage. Up here, you can take potion. If you're going to do potions, you get an extra couple of potions. If not, don't worry about that. Action points are massive. I think you get 50. 50 extra action points is incredible on a mage because that could be half of a magic school. It could top up a magic school for you to get you some new spells. And then here, you just want to rinse the magic thing. You just want to rinse the intelligence tree. Choose your preferred school of magic and funnel into it. You get all the chance to interrupt spells increased, mana regeneration if you want that, mana cost reduction, extra mana. And then you've got necromancy spell power, ecumenical spell power, whatever you think you're going to be using more of. And that's a good basic guide. But yeah, do what you want here. Don't follow this to the T. Make it how you want to make it. As you get to this, you'll probably know more about the game, so you could just make it however you want. But yeah, that's it. Probably the meta foot fight right now. One of the best melee builds in the game right now. And then one of the best mage builds for small scale, duo, and solo play. This is hands down 2 really good picks for a new player. The melee is much easier to get going, much cheaper to get going. The mage is a little higher skill ceiling and a little more expensive to get going, but they are both really good options if you're coming into this as a new player or with a small group of friends. And if you want to see anything else, anything specific, like some good mounted builds, because there's a few really good mounted builds that are happening right now. If you want to see some good dungeon builds, anything like that, big team fight builds, let me know. But that's it from me. Subscribe if you want to see more. Take care, and I'll catch you in the next one.